the head of accelerator operations at Grow, a Southeast Asia's first dedicated agri-food tech accelerator with an impact focus. Swarna works with startups, corporates, researchers, and investors to accelerate the development of cutting-edge agri-food technologies, products, and business models, and thrives on guiding and mentoring startup founders to implement innovative, practical, and outcome-driven strategies. Floor is yours, Vanna. Look forward to hear insightful session from you.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you so much for this invitation and the kind introduction. I just hope that I can deliver on all the expectations that you have set for me. So I'm just going to quickly start with a brief introduction. As Deepak mentioned, I lead accelerator operations at Grow. For those of you new to Grow, we are the first dedicated ag tech and food tech accelerator in Southeast Asia, and backed by AgFunder, one of the most prolific early stage investors in the agri-food tech sector. At Grow, we accelerate top technology startups from across the globe, delivering solutions for our food system to create positive impact for both society and our planet. And as an ecosystem catalyst, my work at Grow involves building capabilities to support growth in Singapore and the ASEAN agri-food tech system. And today I'm going to talk to you about entrepreneurial ecosystems and on me being an ecosystem builder. Ecosystem building is emerging as a new profession at the intersection of economic and community development. Startups are popping up all over the world, even in regions that were not generally known for their tech innovation. From North America to Africa, Europe to Australia, South America to Asia, more and more cities are challenging Silicon Valley's reputation as a global startup hub. However, every city that gives way to the rise of local companies requires certain conditions that are conducive to entrepreneurial activity. And more often than not, it takes certain people to take the lead in their city and network together to encourage innovation and growth. So entrepreneurial ecosystems at their heart are based on human relationships. Perhaps at its simplest, an ecosystem builder can be defined as someone who works to build, grow, support, and nurture an entrepreneurial ecosystem to make it thrive. And ecosystem builders are creating this unique infrastructure in their communities to support entrepreneurs. It's nothing like traditional infrastructure. It's not about physical spaces, fancy buildings, pools of capital, or big institutions. Instead, ecosystem builders focus on building consistent, collaborative, human engagement, where it's about process, not product. It's about context, not content, and where it's about the journey, not the destination. My journey started when I launched a startup venture in Singapore when it was still early days for entrepreneurship here. Let me take you back to that time. I had left an illustrious career in banking, one that I had studied and trained for many years, where 15-hour workdays were the norm. The demands of the job were immense. The days were grueling, back-to-back meetings spilling over into late working dinners. On top of pressures that anyone would face in this job, I also had management challenges of a different kind on the home front. And so after much contemplation, I took the decision to leave my job. I was not quitting on my career, not then at least. It was a conscious decision. I was taking time off to settle my children into primary school. That was what I told myself. And so when that task was accomplished, I was ready to get back to my chosen career. I began to search sites that had flexi time or family-friendly jobs available, but the job titles were vague at best, and most were silent on compensation. I decided then that the only way for me to lean in was to make it happen on my own terms, to start a business, to be an entrepreneur, perhaps even a tech entrepreneur. It was not an easy journey. Do not believe anyone who says it is. However, it was an exciting one. And at the end of it all, a rewarding one. Big successes, many failures, days of pure joy, followed by long moments of self-doubt. One day up, 2 days down. But I plodded on, and it was through that experience, through surviving that experience, that I become obsessed about how to streamline that process of building a startup and providing an ecosystem that nurtures it to success. Entrepreneurship drives economies is a well-accepted statement, but the success of entrepreneurs does depend on those around them. And that's why we need ecosystems or communities for entrepreneurs. People are at the center of this entrepreneurial ecosystem. They are its fundamental building blocks. All the ideas, incubators, and capital in the world will not create anything valuable without talented people putting them to good use. So what we're building here is an ecosystem that allows for the fast flow of talent, information, and resources that help entrepreneurs quickly find what they need at each stage of growth. And as a result, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. A startup ecosystem starts with a supportive government, innovative corporates, research institutions, academic institutions, and of course, enthusiastic entrepreneurs. And then you add in venture capitalists, angel investors, partners and service providers, mentors, and coaches. The interdependent parts of such a system have to work together to be aligned and nudged into collaboration in order to allow the system to best support entrepreneurs. And you can see, as innovation in food production gains attention in Singapore, it has become home to several digital hubs of leading food and agriculture companies, which aim to drive technology and agri-food innovation, often with a focus on sustainability. The excellent education system, quality human capital, and good infrastructure are among other pull factors that attract innovators and R&D into Singapore. In fact, a world-leading financial newspaper has just published a story titled, "Singapore Cultivates Silicon Valley of Food in a Hungry Asia." This is testimony to the efforts of everyone in this ecosystem, which brings me to the role that you and I can play here. Like entrepreneurs, ecosystem builders come in many forms. If you have a passion for helping entrepreneurs and innovators succeed, and in catalyzing entrepreneurship in your community, answer the call and start your journey to become an ecosystem builder. There are many on-ramps to becoming an ecosystem builder. It's a continually evolving field, and there is no defined curriculum or path. The first steps and subsequent routes ecosystem builders take are numerous and varied. The important point here is that you don't need anyone's permission to be an ecosystem builder. You just have to care for your community enough to start. So play your part. A thriving ecosystem must be built by entrepreneurs and for entrepreneurs, not for its institutions or investors. Remember that entrepreneurs should be the inspiration for initiatives, the most active participants in plans, and the ultimate beneficiaries of programs. As an example, one of my most enjoyable roles is to connect entrepreneurs with resources. So we have built relationships with other entrepreneur support systems, universities that cater to entire communities, as well as government organizations. We manage a central calendar of events and a resource directory for our entrepreneurs across Southeast Asia. We've created an extensive partner network and refer founders directly to them. Listen openly and actively. Ecosystem builders need to talk to local entrepreneurs, listen to their stories, and ask them about challenges they face. Experienced entrepreneurs are aware of the barriers they confront and can provide insights that could easily be missed. It's also in these conversations that we inspire possibility and action. When I started this work, entrepreneurs were my primary circle of friends. I would have regular meetings with different founders to check in and find out how they were really doing. It was a simple way to keep me rooted, grounded, and connected with our local ecosystem. Solutions, sustainable solutions will come from the understanding and empathy that ecosystem builders develop in real conversations with entrepreneurs. Action on these conversations. It's not enough to simply increase the amount of conversation. It's also not enough to just have hopeful conversations. The key, therefore, is to drive that action. Human beings learn best by solving problems together. So next time, instead of chatting in a conference room, try building a physical prototype, visualizing ideas on a blackboard, or putting a piece of paper on the table that everyone can write on. Work towards active solutions together. You walk the talk. A thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem has a culture of invitation. Everyone is welcome. It's about where people are going rather than where they're coming from. Ecosystems must live and breathe inclusion as a core philosophy because everyone has something to contribute. An ecosystem builder acts by inviting. The first inclination for any initiative should always be to invite new people and organizations into the community to find new ways to connect, collaborate, co-create, share credit, and find mutual benefit. To me personally, startup ecosystem building is a calling that I chose, or that chose me, because it needed doing at that time and continues to do so. I have opted into supporting agri-food tech entrepreneurs by engaging with a variety of local and global stakeholders to increase the overall well-being of this ecosystem. No one organization has all the solutions or all the resources necessary to achieve this ecosystem. Together, however, we hold many of the answers to the most important questions ecosystem builders face. Do you care for your community enough to start? It's time to play your part.
Thanks a lot, Vanna. It was really very precise, insightful, and what you beautifully brought out is that actually you don't need to be a VC, you don't need to be a investor, you don't need to be someone who understands technology to support a startup ecosystem. Very well articulated. I really like the play model, right? I've interacted with a lot of I'll say that people in your domain, right? Accelerators and incubators as well as those who support ecosystems. And believe me, this model I've never came across. So it's something which I believe all those who are involved in ecosystem development should have a very close look at. And I hope you have not copyrighted it, and all of us can use it and share in future.
Deepak, I think we've lost you.
Yeah, but I'm so sorry I dropped.
No worries.
Internet
Yeah.
it happens. I'm so sorry. So yeah, I was saying that actually, this play model definitely I hope you have not copyrighted, and then we'll like to talk about it more going forward. My question to you is that how you see Grow looking in future, trying to support women tech entrepreneurs to work in agriculture. So do you have a roadmap or a plan or some views on that?
Okay, I think just to give you a quick background, when Grow was set up, there was really very nascent ag and food tech ecosystem in Singapore. So the role is to create that vibrant ecosystem. And that gives us that advantage of not having, a existing ecosystem which is dominated by men founders, and gives us a level playing field to encourage equal participation from both women and men founders. At Grow, I think we're very fortunate to have a team that is, equally gender, you know, um, balanced, as well as most of the participating teams in our cohorts have had female founders. So although it's not been a conscious effort to only include women founders into our teams, it's just been organic for us. Having said that, and echoing what Emma mentioned earlier, the focus is on enabling more women to take that step forward. Even if it's just wanting to understand what a startup ecosystem is, you don't necessarily have to have an idea, but there are various other ways that you can be a part of that ecosystem. So yes, lots of plans to have more participation, speaking at events like this, to just generally encourage more women to come out, ask questions, understand the space, and then see where they would like to fit. So it's not just female founders that we would want. We would want more interaction and engagement with females in general in the whole startup ecosystem.
Super, well articulated. Do you see any specific pointers where, you see that those, because the same question I asked Emma also, those who are fence sitters, right? The awesome women who want to get into this part of, I'll say that business domain. Do you see, your any views on that, or you would like to say something to them, so that actually they can jump over the fence and become an agripreneur?
Okay, I'm going to do another play on words here. But I believe, and I am a really big advocate for a woman being their own biggest fan, where the F would stand for having that faith, believing in yourself, right? If you're a fence sitter, or you are far from the fence, or you've crossed the fence, at any point of that journey, you yourself have to be, strong and firm up there. So having faith in yourself. The second is the A. So action on those intentions. A lot of us have a lot of interesting thoughts brewing in the background, and we don't bring them up front. We don't start engaging in conversations because we feel that it's not the right person, it's not the right place, it's not the right time. So the second important pointer would be to action on your thoughts, your beliefs, have a sounding board, speak to someone. And then the N stands for network. Grow your network, reach out to people. A lot of us are now at that stage, we are being considered as role models. Not that it was intentional, but just that we've been there, covered parts of that journey which haven't been the easiest. But that's an experience that others can learn from. So that's where, I would try and encourage everyone to have active conversations, reach out, believe in yourselves. There's lots of network, lots of, folks, not just women, but men as well, who are available, to speak to sound off ideas, but it's you who needs to take that first initial step.
Sorry, I wasn't. Yeah, so perfect. Now, actually, I've seen your work when you are interacting or you're creating, awareness of people becoming mentors, right? So I think you have taken it more of connecting a lot of, I'll say that people who have got extensive experience in the domain to help these startups. I would like to know from you, in case a startup is looking for a mentor, right? Because now we are having a million of mentors, right? Everybody is a mentor, right? How you differentiate, right? Who suits you, and in case you have some views on that, how to get a good mentor?
Okay, that's an interesting question, and I'm a firm believer that you need to be a mentor at some point in your life. For me, I do mentor with a lot of organizations. I do mentor a lot of startups, and it's the primary reason being that I would like to pay it forward. So during my journey, I've had the opportunity of having some really great mentors who've shaped my journey. So to pay it forward, I'm there. But having said that, there is a lot of chemistry between a mentor and a mentee that needs to be, in the right space. So the mentee also needs to be very clear about what kind of support they need, what kind of help they need. And then the matching of the mentor and the mentee does take a little bit of effort. So it's not that, we have X amount of mentors and we can match you up with anyone that you prefer. We do take a very proactive approach when we are connecting mentors on our platform. And I'm very happy to share that if you look at our Grow website, there is a lot of diversity there, both in terms of, the technologies that are represented, the geographies that are represented, the genders that are represented. So if it is, there are lots of mentors available there, but you need to be clear what you are seeking from that relationship.
That's very well articulated. And that brings me to another follow-up question on the similar line. How a mentee see that a startup there who has approached them is having that X factor, right? And there is worth putting that time in that, because they have limited time and they should pick out those who have higher rate of survival. So what are the X factors you look at when somebody approaches you? For example, I come to you and saying, hey, I'm a startup, right? I've seen that you are doing A, B, C, D, and they've done their research. But at the end of the day, if you have to take that call, whether you want to pursue and move forward with them, what is the X factor you are looking at?
I wouldn't say there is any one X factor. The first would be, do your intentions align, right? Are you on that same growth path? If the startup is looking for 10X in 6 months and I feel that I can only do it in 12 months, clearly there is a misalignment there. So the vision has to align, the expectations have to align. But I would really be keen to mentor someone who's got their, their vision clear, or they've got their action steps clear. They know what they want to do, not necessarily how to go about doing that. So some sense of clarity that can be, shown in that first conversation is extremely important for a mentor also to be able to, understand whether this is a startup that they can help or not.
Perfect. Very, very, again, I'll say that crisp and to the point. The last question is like, what difference you see in different ecosystems? Because I've seen that, like, you have traveled a lot of ecosystems, right? From India to Singapore and other Asian countries. Do you see that they're at a different level of growth stage or maturity stages, or like, you see that all the ecosystems are as good or as bad?
No, I'm sure there is a difference in each ecosystem, which also comes from, what is the focus for that ecosystem, or what is that focus for that region. For example, Singapore doesn't have smallholder farmer issues. So that's probably something that's not a core part of an activity that I would, be looking at doing. But it's different for a Thailand or a different for Philippines. So ecosystems primarily rely on challenges and issues that are local, but they build on, the expertise, the leverage on networks that are probably global. And the idea of an ecosystem is to be able to, bring not or operate not just in silo, but in partnership with wherever else that, you can either mutually benefit from or you can learn from.
Fair enough. And like a follow-up question, which would be the last for you. Do you also see, like, with the different ecosystem, the focus on the technology also changes? For example, as you mentioned, that definitely Singapore is not having challenges of small and medium farmers, while the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, or India would having that. So do you also see, like, based on the type of challenges, the technology inclination also changes? Because a lot of talk about blockchain in Singapore, right? Every other person I meet, right, he's talking about the blockchain in agriculture, right? And end of the day, as you know, that India becomes the hub of development. So, like, suddenly you see that here also people start talking about blockchain. So do you see that there is also a preference of technology for ecosystem?
Again, depends on what the intention is and where you are kind of wanting to see yourself. So obviously blockchain is in most conversations. But for example, Singapore leans more towards food tech versus India would probably leaning more towards ag tech. So again, various different, trends and depending, and it's a diverse region, right? Every country in Southeast Asia has a different culture, different focus, different, challenges. And the answer to your question would be that yes, there is an underlying theme, which is technology, but what kind of technology is dependent on where you're situated and what solution you have.
Sorry, actually, that's a very interesting answer. That makes me ask you one more question, right? Is sometime overkill of technology also I've seen. Like, recently I bought some cherries all the way from Jammu and Kashmir, right? And there was a QR code and which says that traceability. And believe me, when I scanned that QR code, it downloaded a PDF file. And only thing was actually on that was that harvest date and that it is good for consumption. So don't you see sometimes like, there is also overkill of technology and any views on that, that sometimes, it's a simple sticker which would have said that this is date of harvest and it is good for consumption would have worked.
Yeah. I don't want to upset too many startups and investors probably tuned in, but yes, there is obviously that interest to be, tech enabled. And the question there is that, do you really need that technology? And is that solving a problem or just, a feel good factor?
That's very diplomatic, great answer. Actually, I'm having luckily I'll say that option of talking it because actually I'm now more of from someone who was creating technology. I'm more of someone who is using it on ground. So I'm a farmer, right? So that's 40% of time, right? So I evaluated a lot of technologies which maybe a few months back I was very keen to sell and see that how value it is. And then you are right, we have to always identify value along with readiness of adopting a technology. Just having a feel good factor might not go in long run, especially when we are talking about country like India, where we see farmer already spending a lot and a lot of promises being made from green revolution all the way today, where they still are not able to pay decently the fees of their kids. So thanks a lot, Manna. It was very engaging and pleasure talking to you as usual. And thanks a lot for spending some time with us out of your very
Thank you,
busy
Deepak.
schedule.
And I'm looking forward to seeing some of the people who've tuned in, along the way as ecosystem builders as well.
No, yeah, actually, in fact, post this event, we would be connecting all the speaker. Some of them you already know, and some of them could be a big value addition to your existing
Absolutely.
awesome network. Thanks
All
a
right.
lot. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Deepak.